Rupert Murdoch has called time on his run as one of the most influential media moguls in history.
His news empire spans right across the globe, but he's also had an enormous impact on the Australian media landscape. Someone who knows all about this is the former editor of the Sunday Telegraph, Neil Breen, former boss of the Today Show. Nice to see you, Breeny. How are you?
How are you, Carl? Sarah?
Really, from those beginnings in Adelaide, what he built was immense.
Yeah, he inherited the Adelaide Advertiser. And, Rupert and the family cop a lot of criticism. But if you take politics and all those things out of it, for a guy who inherited one newspaper in not Australia's biggest city, to turn it into the empire that it is across the globe, an Australian businessman, it's a phenomenal achievement. It really is. When you add the Fox network over there, 21st Century Fox, what he did when he got into the movie game and the entertainment game, absolutely incredible. And working for him was nothing like people thought it was. Nothing. Everyone outside would think he's an ogre and he's this and he wasn't. He was unfailingly polite. I met with him a lot. Unfailingly polite. Every time you finished talking to him, he'd shake your hand and say, "Thanks so much, and thanks so much for all your hard work."
He was such a he is such a polarising figure, and he's so influential in the media landscape, especially, which obviously then permeates into various aspects of life. But you knew him, I guess, on a little bit more of a personal level. Are there any stories that come to mind?
How long we got? I got all day. This is what it was like to work for him. He loved newspapers, but he loved the craft of them. And when you met with him, he would have several of your editions in front of him and he would go through them and he would lick his thumb and go through them. And he always only had a red pen. And he would sub the paper. He would talk about headline sizes, the cropping of photos, captions. He got to the social pages one day and he was there and he goes, "Oh, yeah, and all your functions." And he goes, "Oh, what's this?" I said, "Well, they're nice photos of people looking nice at a function." He goes, "You've cropped them from here to here. The women want to see their shoes. Never cut the photos above the shoes." That's what he was like.
It's not wrong.
Another time I had the cover of our travel magazine, Escape, was a feature on Luxembourg. And he gets to it and he goes, "Luxembourg." I said, "Yeah, lovely Luxembourg." That's the headline. He goes, "Tell me about it." I said, "Oh, it's beautiful picture spread, but what you can do when you go to Luxembourg." He goes, "Is that right?" He goes, "Do you want to know what they did on Sunday?" I said, "What?" He goes, "They lay in bed together, had their coffee, and they went, 'Gee, Luxembourg looks nice. It looks fantastic. We'll go there one day.'" He goes, "But guess what? They're never going there. No one goes to Luxembourg. They're going to Paris, they're going to London. No more Luxembourg."
Oh, wow.
Red line.
So I never put Liechtenstein on the cover, Carl and Sarah. I left it. But that's what he was like.
Yeah.
One time in 2011, out of nowhere, he said, "Everyone come to California next week. We're talking newspapers." And we went to this golf resort in California, and he, for 2 days, stood up in front of us and ran this conference in 2011. He stood up at the front with butcher's paper, and he's just writing things on butcher's paper. I never forget, he was talking about, he goes, "I hate people on the dole." And he wrote, "A bludger is a bludger." Never forget it. And he'd move on to the next thing. He had old school attitudes, right?
Yeah,
he had
old school.
But then at night, he just loved to drink Napa Valley Red. He loved Penfold Saint Henri. He would just want to talk stories, and he wouldn't dominate the conversation. He'd just want to listen.
Breeny, you managed to work out 3 stories there. We've run out of time. That's the end of the show.
Can I tell you about the time he bought the LA Dodgers? Next time. Next time, Carl.
Great to see you, Breeny. Terrific stories.
Thanks, Breeny.
Love it. Let's get more now on Rupert handing over his empire to his son Lachlan. Let's bring in Walter Marsh, author of Young Rupert, The Making of a Murdoch Empire. G'day, Walter. Nice to see you this morning. It is kind of a little bit like Succession in real life, huh?
Certainly. Now we're kind of at the pointy end of, I guess, what's season 4 of the Murdoch Empire, and we really find out what happens when Rupert, theoretically, according to this resignation statement, steps into this new sort of hazily defined chairman emeritus role. But I guess we'll find out exactly what that actually entails for Lachlan, who's been waiting to have, I guess, a clear shot at the empire and all the other stakeholders.
I'll get on to Lachlan in a second.
Family.
But Rupert Murdoch, what he did, what he built was nothing short of extraordinary. A small newspaper in Adelaide to creating a multi-billion-dollar global media empire. No matter what you think of him and what you think of his legacy, you can't deny that this was an extraordinary career.
Certainly, and the last 70 years, as you said, he did inherit a newspaper company, which is, better, it's better than nothing. But he built that from Adelaide and was set on this kind of relentless path of constant expansion all around the world, challenging establishments and these markets everywhere he went. Of course, he had quite a big impact in the way those markets worked. Everywhere he went, he made a real point of challenging norms and trying to speak to audiences that he didn't think were being spoken to, which has had a pretty substantive impact in the way that our public debates occur in country after country. But it's definitely because he has done that in this era of, I guess, globalization and big global corporations that didn't really exist in his father's generation of press lords. He has become bigger than any other press lord in history, which is certainly quite an achievement.
We're running all these shots of Lachlan this morning, and he wouldn't be too dissatisfied with them, I'm sure. Back in the day, look at that. Geez, a handsome young rooster. He's no daffodil. Lachlan is his own man. He left the family, came back to Australia with Sarah and the kids, and now he's been called back in. He will run it his own way and put his own mark on it. There is no doubt about that.
Yeah, but I think the consensus that is emerging is that he is a different kind of leader to Rupert. Rupert was very, if not hands-on, micromanaging every corner of the empire. He could just, pick up the phone and call an editor in any corner of the world and lay out how he wants things to be done. And so there was this sort of trickle-down culture in which, all the layers of management kind of know what Rupert wants. Whether or not Lachlan is that hands-on, that kind of invested in the day-to-day running of the news, I think that remains to be seen. Certainly in the Fox News Dominion case, it's the stuff that was emerging out of that revealed that, he wasn't quite as hands-on. But, he's been waiting, sort of coming in and out of the Murdoch empire for the last couple of decades. He's closer in age to Rupert's father when he died than Rupert was when he actually took over the empire. So he's kind of had a bit of a Prince Charles experience of this very long apprenticeship.
He does look a little bit better than Prince Charles, though, let's face it. Good on you, Walter. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. First, that breaking news at 7 o'clock. Rupert Murdoch is stepping down as chair of Fox Corporation and News Corp.
He leaves behind a long and colourful legacy that started as a 22-year-old running a small newspaper in Adelaide.
The end of an era and an historic succession unfolding.
His life's work has left an indelible imprint on the global media landscape. His contributions are both innumerable and extraordinary, and we thank him for letting us be a part of it all. Thank you, Rupert, and congratulations.
Rupert Murdoch ending a 70-year career, one filled with profound influence and enormous controversy. In 2011, his empire plunged into the spotlight with revelations journalists at his British tabloid News of the World hacked phones of politicians, celebrities and members of the royal family. The scandal forcing the world's oldest newspaper to fold.
This is the most humble day of my life.
In 2017, he sold 21st Century Fox to Disney for an eye-watering $68 billion.
I think this is returning to our roots, which is news and sports, and it's the changing way people watch television these days.
But as the saying goes, easy come, easy go. A few years later, his company was forced to pay $1.2 billion after admitting it told lies relating to the 2020 US presidential election. Over the years, many brides have stood by his side. 4 have come and gone. He has 6 children, but only one can take over the family firm.
Real life succession, isn't it? Let's go live to 9 US correspondent Alison Petrowski. Ali, that person is Lachlan.
Yeah, that's right. The 52-year-old will take over from his father. He will become the sole chairman of both Fox and News Corporation. Guys, that transition will take place this November. 92-year-old Rupert Murdoch, quick to reassure his staff this morning that both his health is doing well, his health is well, and so is the state of his companies. He made the announcement in a letter to staff where he said, "I'm writing to let you all know that I've decided to transition to the role of Chairman Emeritus at Fox and News. For my entire professional life, I've been engaged daily with news and ideas and that will not change. So Sarah and Carl, Rupert will continue to be heavily involved. He goes on to mention in that letter that the battle for freedom of speech and even freedom of thought is more intense than ever. And interestingly, this morning here in the United States, the financial markets have responded really positively, despite the Dow and Wall Street being down considerably this morning. Fox shares are up 3% and News Corp shares have climbed 2% following the news of this succession plan. Guys?
Yeah, endorsement for Lachlan there. All right, Ali, thank you. Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh my God, Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?
Always happens.